Hey everybody, it's Rob Jolliffe. This is another Sabre Limited Expert Series. Today I'm going to do a comparison of Dynamics GP and Dynamics Business Central. Okay, now let's take a look at my comparison of Dynamics GP to Microsoft Business Central, Dynamics 365 Business Central. My name is Rob Jolliffe. I'm an expert in Business Central manufacturing. I'm a supply chain expert. I've taught supply chain as a professor at community colleges, and I happen to have previously been a GP expert. So I think I have a pretty good position to do a comparison between the two products. If you are watching this video, you're probably ideally what I would call a mid-market ERP user. That means that you're not a company with QuickBooks and plugging in some add-ons to it to give you some inventory or manufacturing capabilities. And you're also not using a multi-million-dollar SAP or Oracle ERP system. You're in the mid-market. You're in between those two, typically a little bit smaller, well under $1 million of ERP investment. If you watch this video and you're interested, you want to have a chat with me, you want to ask any questions, or just set up a meeting to give me your opinion, I would love to hear it. There will be a link in the description with my calendar in it. And by booking a meeting with me in my calendar, it gives me the opportunity to set aside the time so that I can prepare and be focused on the questions that you might have. So please do not hesitate to book a meeting with me if you are interested in having a discussion about this video. Okay, let's jump into it. So why am I recording a video comparing Dynamics GP to Business Central? Well, we have a lot of clients who might have Dynamics Business or have Dynamics GP today, who are reaching out to us, or prospects who are reaching out to us, and they're interested in upgrading to Business Central, and they'd like to understand a little better about what the differences and the comparison of the two products are. So this video is a comparison video discussing the two systems. Separately, I'll do a video on what I think you should do if you are planning on doing the upgrade and what the approach should be. But let's just get into this video on the differences and the comparison between the two systems. So comparing Dynamics GP to Dynamics Business Central, and stick around to the end because I am going to discuss the pricing a little bit and the opportunities for GP customers today to move from GP on their computers at the office to the cloud with Business Central. So Dynamics GP on the left, Business Central on the right. One of the big differences between the two is the level of investment. There are stories of GP being a dead product, and that is not true. Microsoft is actively investing in GP. You can rely on it for the long term. However, the level of investment in Business Central is substantially greater. So I would say probably it's a 10-to-1 difference in the level of investment, and Business Central is getting the lion's share of Microsoft's attention and focus today. So aggressively being invested in versus just actively being invested in. When it comes to the design of the two products, you have a Dynamics GP, which is what's referred to as a client-server application, which means that you have a server running typically Microsoft SQL Server. As a matter of fact, it has to be Microsoft SQL Server that runs in the back end. And then the client, the program that runs, that connects to that server, is running on your individual computers. The server is storing the data. The client does all of the calculations and work. With Business Central, it's a cloud model of software, which means that there is a server somewhere that does all the thinking and presents the information to you in a thin client. This is a little bit like your iPhone or your Android phone and going and checking the weather. Your phone doesn't have a barometer in it, and it doesn't have a thermostat and all of the rest of, or a thermometer and everything else you need. It's reaching out to the cloud to get that information, and there are servers in the cloud that feed that down to your phone, which allows you to have a relatively simple phone and still get that information. So Business Central runs the same way, which makes it a little bit nicer for deployment for IT teams. You do not need to reinstall it on each computer. It really just runs in your browser. One of the other things I would say about GP is, and it doesn't have to be this way, but it just happens to be, that it has an older 90s style user interface. The user, when I first saw GP in 2008, that was my immediate impression was, oh, this is a Windows 98 style user interface. I've seen it recently and downloaded the 2019 version and took a look at it. It's very, very similar to what I was first exposed to. Business Central is the newest iteration of Microsoft Dynamics Nav, and that's gone through multiple refreshes of its design and implementation, and it's currently what they call the modern client, which is a very modern looking 2020s design cloud software package, very easy to use, very easy to navigate, user-friendly, and fast. Very, very fast, actually, even though it's running in a browser. GP is historically very hard to customize. There are different ways of customizing GP that give you the capability of making minor modifications to it, but it isn't really easy to get in and do major customizations, and it's usually sold that way. NAV before it and Business Central are both much easier to customize. I would say they're amongst the most simple ERP systems I've ever encountered to do customizations in. Now that has a risk because the more you customize, the more difficult it is to upgrade. And certainly in the old NAV days, the Dynamics NAV was very difficult to upgrade if you customized it a lot. Luckily, Business Central, they have addressed that, and Business Central upgrades fantastically well, even if you've customized it. We have, in the last 3 years, we provide, as part of our support agreement, we will update any customizations that are changed in the system when Microsoft upgrades it, and it's very affordable for us. We do not run into a lot of costs for ourselves offering that service to our clients, and I would be comfortable to say that for most clients, for most upgrades, they would have an hour or two at most of time spent in the upgrade. For GP, there's a very well-established add-on market, but of older products, so it's been around a long time, and it has a large number of add-ons. For Business Central, there is a fast-growing and even larger add-on market of add-ons that are available. Many of them are the GP products that are being migrated over to Business Central. We talked a little bit about customizations and how customizations can cause a bit of trouble with upgrades. With Dynamics GP, the upgrades are your problem. You are responsible to pay your partner or someone to do the upgrades on a regular basis, and that can be very costly over time. With Business Central, Microsoft automatically does your upgrades for you. So as I mentioned earlier, if you have done some custom programming in your Business Central environment, which is very common, customizations of reports, customizations of screens, and adding user fields, the upgrade generally works without any issues at all. And the occasional time somebody might have to spend an hour to take a look at it, but you're getting those upgrades as part of your subscription, not your customization changes, but the upgrade of the system, which means you're always on the current version, which is a big improvement over on-prem ERP systems where you're responsible for upgrading them. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of the features of the two products. So GP is really focused on accounting, and I would say for my manufacturing customers, it's actually a little complicated on the accounting side because it gives so many capabilities that most of them don't even use a tenth of the abilities of GP for accounting. Business Central, I would say, is a little less focused on accounting, and it's a bit simpler. We're not talking about a QuickBooks kind of comparison. It's not that simple, but it isn't quite as sophisticated as GP. So if you have very, very sophisticated accounting requirements, Business Central might not work for you. There are some tiered approval processes. There are the ability to segment different business units within the same general ledger structure. They're all capabilities out of the box with GP. The Business Central would be challenged to do the same thing. If, however, you're a more simple business, you have a bookkeeper and maybe an accountant or a controller who oversees the bookkeeper, and you don't need tiered and complex approval processes, and you don't want complicated configurations, the Business Central is a much better fit, in my opinion, for those companies. GP has decent inventory purchasing and sales processes, so the ability to enter sales orders, purchase orders, and manage your inventory within GP is very strong. But I would say Business Central is a bit better. I think because Microsoft is investing more in the product, that they are adding more features. I think in the last few years it's caught up and surpassed GP. I also think that the user interface makes it a little bit easier to use. It's more modern, and we've found that users learn it more quickly and find it easier to work with. I'll give you a very quick example. Business Central includes the ability to have something called a warehouse shipment, which is a request to a warehouse to send a shipment out. Something a lot of manufacturers will do. They don't want the shop floor staff to see the orders and be able to see them and enter in the information there. GP has something, but it's much less sophisticated and user-friendly. So GP manufacturing versus Business Central manufacturing. GP has a manufacturing system within it. Most GP customers end up buying an add-on for manufacturing to enhance it and make it more capable, because GP manufacturing out of the box, in my opinion, and I was a GP manufacturing expert, it's a little bit clunky. I guess the best word for it would be clunky. The Business Central manufacturing capabilities are much more user-friendly. They're much more typical of what other manufacturing systems have within it and use. Now, I will say that Business Central also typically has add-ons that are used with the manufacturing system, but those add-ons aren't to replace the manufacturing system and make it usable. They are to complement it. So drag and drop inventory or scheduling and capacity planning systems, or a shop floor data collection kiosk so that you can have a paperless environment and your staff can be putting their time cards in directly on the shop floor. Those are the sorts of features that Business Central typically might be added to, which are not even really available within GP, or very difficult to get within GP as standalone products that add into the standard GP manufacturing. Notable couple of things for those of you who are on GP and are thinking about Business Central. There is no payroll system within Business Central. Business Central has a number of add-ons, among them very popular payroll packages like Ceridian and ADP, and also a number of other payroll products that are available from other third parties. There are also a few things that GP can do that Business Central can't do. Some of those are related to the accounting side. There's a incoming inspection module that's part of GP that Business Central doesn't have an equivalent for. So there are a few areas where customers who are using certain parts of GP may need either some customizations or some of those add-on modules we discussed earlier. Certainly for payroll, you need to have a third party and add-on module that you would plug in. Now, the beautiful thing about it is these add-on modules are completely seamlessly integrated into the core system, or they have out-of-the-box integrations that you can get from AppSource, which is where the plugins for Business Central are kept. There are a lot of GP add-ons. So if you have GP today and you're using a GP add-on and really feel like it's a key part of your business, there are a lot of those GP add-ons that are moving over to Business Central. I would say that the majority of the top tier add-ons, the ones that have a large enough number of customers, they are either already in Business Central or actively migrating to it. We see more and more of them being released every month. None of them are going the other way that we can tell. So we have not seen any Business Central add-on that pre-existed as a fully Business Central product and moving towards GP. And I think that kind of tells the tale a little bit. Now, lastly, I mentioned this, there is a deal today from Microsoft. It is not available forever. It does have a termination date. To the best of my knowledge, it is good throughout the entire year of 2022. But it essentially allows you to have Business Central licensed in the cloud for about half the price that you would see if you went to look up the price of Business Central. It's much, much less expensive. And what you do is you're substituting your monthly or your annualized renewal for your GP product, or if you had NAV or SL as other products, that monthly renewal or annual renewal, excuse me. So the annual renewal, and it's prorated into 12 monthly payments. So if you had a $12,000 a year renewal, you would have $1,000 a month payment as a license for your cost of getting GP in the cloud, and that would entitle you to approximately 3 times the users you currently have. Now, sometimes you don't need 3 times the users you have. Maybe you just need the number of users you have. You have 10 users, I need 10 users, that's all I need. It's still less expensive if you are upgrading a 10-user system to the cloud than it would be to buy the 10 users new and be licensed on them. So this deal is a limited time. It will be, I'm recording this in the middle of 2022. This will be over by 2023 as far as I understand. So if you are interested in this, you should definitely take advantage of it and look at it. As always, check out the links in the description for either links to other videos or articles or content that we think might be relevant with this particular video. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us. So remember to click the subscribe button and click the bell icon so that you're notified of new videos when they come out. And finally, to reach me or Sabre, of course, you can book a calendar invitation in the description below, or you can reach me at LinkedIn /in/Rob Jolliffe. You can email us at sales@sabrelimited.com, and you can reach our website at www.sabrelimited.com. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.